You know how important first impressions are, and it doesn't matter if we are talking about real life or, in this case, Superman. But Superman, like most comic book characters brought to live action, has the benefit of having a shot at a brand new first impression every time DC decides to fire a fan favorite. But I'm not going to talk about David Corenswet. I think the guy looks the part and has potential. And let's be fair, if you were offered the role of the Man of Steel, would you reject it? So, Corenswet's first image with the iconic Superman suit has been revealed and, well, I have a few questions. And this is what I mean when I talk about first impressions. Because we are essentially experiencing a first impression of a character that is perhaps one of the greatest hero archetypes of all time, and yes, it's kind of a big deal. Especially because Corenswet is standing on the shoulders of giants. Sorry, Brandon, I would talk about you in a minute. But this image, the first impression that I had is that Superman's attitude, he could hardly bother about what's going on. And what seems to be going on is that big bad huge pink ray in the background. I don't know, perhaps Pinkie Pie has gone rogue and is destroying Metropolis. We don't have the plot yet. But the idea behind a reveal of the character is that you want to create intrigue, right? Like a trailer, or a teaser, or those 5 seconds of nano teaser that now film companies put before teasers. You want people to anticipate what's coming, create mystery, and of course, with any image of a person, whether it's mortal or a superhero, the focal point is going to be their face. Precisely because our brain has the fusiform face area, which is dedicated exclusively to detect faces, recognize faces, and interpret facial expressions. And in the case of our brand new Man of Steel, well, it's not like we are expecting a Jim Carrey grade emotional display. After all, we are expecting a man who is set out to get the job done, and in most cases, facial displays of masculinity means that you will not have much variety besides a rod, let's get the job done. Even when your male character is charismatic and nonchalant like Tony Stark, you'll notice that it takes a lot of pressure to get him out of his usual relaxed face expression. And to be fair, if we really zoom in on Kal-El's face, this is the kind of expression that we expect from a being who can literally hear every scream in the world and needs to decide which one of those screams he should be paying attention to. The guy can't even enjoy a beer in peace because his super hearing will not allow him to chill. Imagine that. So, in that case, if we discard everything else in the picture, well, yes, that facial expression fits the weight of the world on Superman's shoulders. But then there comes the question, isn't Superman a beacon of hope for humanity? And before I talk about Henry Cavill's first look at Superman all the way back in 2011, again, not to compare the actors, but to compare the first impressions, we should take a look at Brandon Routh in 2005 in his picture reveal. This was the first image released of him in the suit, so this was the first impression people had of the new Superman since the previous incarnation for the silver screen, who was, of course, the legendary Christopher Reeve. So, yeah, in Brandon's case, he had huge boots to fill in terms of the character, and at least his reveal done in the Red Cave was, well, mostly okay. Now, just for comparison purposes, let's take a look at the very first image of Henry Cavill with the Superman costume. Of course, let's talk about the elephant in the room, that is saturation, as in color saturation. There's no way you can't notice that the color palette on the new Superman is, at least, alive. Because back then we knew that Zack Snyder wanted to do a gritty reboot of the character, and it seems that it meant that every Superman scene was going to look like filmed inside the Batcave. Extremely desaturated palette, but it worked. I for one loved Man of Steel, even if there was so much backlash about it, but I digress. We are talking about first impressions, and in Henry Cavill's case, The image doesn't allow to detail his face that much. In this case, the image focuses more on the action around him, and especially what we could consider an action pose. In terms of what was going around him, it looks like he was going out or getting in a vault. So the setting itself represented Superman's power. Going back to Brandon, even if we have the classic saturated colors, well, that red doesn't look that much red at all, but anyway, going back to Brandon, the body language of the pose was just the classic Superman posture, but a bit awkward because it doesn't look like the fists were actually resting on his hips. So he looked a bit tense and not really confident. But let's go back to what brings us here today, and it's the current Superman. I mean, not everything is facial expressions, because you have to consider body language and, in this case, posture and action. What is Superman doing? He's putting on his boots, right? Because Pinkie Pie went rogue and it's about to level Metropolis, right? Or is he taking them off? My guess is that he's putting them on, but the fact that he's acting like he's got no super speed looks a bit depressing. No, really, it's like the guy can't bother. This has massive Monday morning vibes, as in, I should have stayed as Clark today, F it. And also, why does his suit look like it's 2 sizes too big? Look at that color gap. Does it come with auto-fitting like Back to the Future 2? How does he fly at many times the speed of sound without this becoming an aerodynamic liability? And the way the sleeves are also a bit loose, isn't that an industrial hazard? Can't they get caught in Doomsday's thorns? And another thing that I notice is that the upper part of his suit is kind of burnt and charred, while his pants and boots seem like straight out of the dry cleaner. Did he have an accident with a super barbecue? But perhaps the most important question to ask is, where is he exactly? It looks like a double-height living room with minimal furniture, and how does Clark Kent afford a place like this? You're on the floor, what, 35? How much that rent cost? Is this a gift? Maybe he's at one of Lex Luthor's apartments? And if that's so, maybe he's getting dressed after... never mind. But no, seriously, I'm sure this is James Gunn trolling us. So we talk about the big reveal of the new Superman, hoping that we forget that he fired Henry Cavill. And no, that would take time, bro. I'm not gonna lie, most of what James Gunn has done so far has turned out from good to awesome, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt. And to David Cornsweet, I wish him the best of luck. He will need it. My body language buddies, I would like to know what you think about this in the comments. Don't forget to download my free 100 body language tips in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and remember, much love and bliss.